Hello, parents. I'm Amanda Lankford, the assistant principal at Patterson Elementary School. This video will introduce you to the assessment screeners that we use here at our school. Anytime that you meet for a parent conference with your child's teachers, they will discuss the most current data from these important screeners. Hopefully, this video will give you a better understanding of these assessments and how our teachers use them to guide their instruction. Students are given screener assessments at benchmark intervals in the fall, winter, and spring. Depending on your child's grade level, he or she will participate in the following assessments. For ELA, screeners include DIBELS, Reading Inventory, often referred to as RI for short, and Reading Map Growth. In math, students take the STAR test and Map Growth Assessment. DIBELS is a literacy test of early reading skills administered by teachers in kindergarten through second grade. The test assesses students' ability to identify letters, letter sounds, phonemes, or sounds and words, and a student's oral reading fluency. For the oral reading fluency assessment, students are given a grade level passage and asked to read it. This test begins at the first grade level. The score at the end indicates the number of words the student could read in 1 minute. Each DIBELS test is given in 1-minute increments and in a one-on-one setting with the teacher. DIBELS scores are easy to understand. Each assessment has a benchmark target or goal which students are measured against at fall, winter, and spring administration. Based on a student's score, he or she is identified as performing at benchmark, above benchmark, below benchmark, or well below benchmark. Let's take a look at an excerpt from a sample DIBELS report for a second grade student. When Sally took this screener in the fall, she was reading 55 words per minute, which put her performance slightly above benchmark. This means Sally met the benchmark goal for her grade level in the fall. However, at the winter assessment, Sally needed to be reading 72 words per minute, but she performed slightly below the benchmark target by reading 67 words per minute. If your child isn't at benchmark on a DIBELS screener, don't panic. Just talk to your child's teacher about strategies to help at home. The most important thing that you can do is to read to your child often and have him or her read to you. Students begin taking an assessment known as a Reading Inventory, or RI, starting in second grade. RI is a computer adaptive reading test, which means the level of difficulty is adjusted based on the responses provided to match the knowledge and ability of a test taker. If a student gives a wrong answer, the computer follows up with an easier question. But if the student answers correctly, the next question will be more difficult. At the end of an assessment, RI reports a Lexile score for each student. This score can be interpreted as the level of book that a student can read and comprehend independently with an appropriate level of challenge. When you meet with your child's teachers, you will regularly hear them refer to his or her Lexile range. Teachers use each student's Lexile score to match students with text at an appropriate reading level within their Lexile range. This range is determined by adding 50 to the student's reported Lexile measure and subtracting 100. For example, the student here has a reported Lexile score of 1240. To determine the student's Lexile range, you would subtract 100 and add 50 to this score. This means that the student's reading materials should be within the range of 1140 and 1290. This range represents the boundaries between the easiest kind of reading material that still provides challenge for your student and the hardest level at which he or she can read independently. Remember, a Lexile measure is a measure of text complexity only. It does not take into consideration other important factors such as subject matter of the text or a reader's interest. Therefore, the Lexile measure is just one piece of information that can be used when selecting books for your child to read. STAR Math is another computer adaptive assessment, which means it will adjust the difficulty of the test based on each answer that your child provides. STAR tracks the development of math skills in the domains of numbers and operations, geometry, measurement, algebraic thinking, and representing or interpreting data. The overall score that your child receives on the STAR assessment is reported as a scaled score. It is calculated based on both the difficulty of the questions and the number of correct responses by the student. Scaled scores in STAR Math range from 200 to 1400. The scaled score that a student receives provides two valuable pieces of information. First, it tells us how the student is performing compared to other students across the nation in the same grade. It also tells us whether or not the student has met the benchmark target for grade level proficiency. Based on where your child scores in comparison to the benchmark target, he or she will be placed into one of these four categories: distinguished learner or proficient learner for those students at or above benchmark, or developing and beginning learners for those that are below the benchmark cut score. In the example provided on this slide, a first grader named Stetson has a scaled score of 867 and a percentile rank of 94. This means that Stetson's scaled score is higher than 94% of students nationally in the same grade at the same benchmark period. The benchmark goal for all first grade students in the fall is a scaled score of 796. Stetson's score of 867 is well above the benchmark target, which also means that he is performing at or above grade level proficiency. Teachers analyze the data they get from STAR assessments to determine what students already know and what they are ready to learn next. This allows the teacher to differentiate math instruction and determine which students may need additional help. MAP growth is an assessment given to all students, kindergarten through fifth grade, in both reading and math. Millions of students nationwide and in over 140 countries use this screener to measure student achievement as well as to track learner progress over time. Similar to a growth chart, the MAP test measures growth each year. The scale used to measure progress is called a RIT scale, and the score your child receives is known as a RIT score. Teachers and parents are able to monitor students' RIT score progress from one administration to the next and across multiple years. Let's take a look on the next slide. The solid line on this report shows all of Johnny's scores from last year and this year. Johnny's RIT score in the fall of 2021 was a 206. The dotted line on the report represents the average performance for other students in the same grade across the nation at the same reporting periods. Johnny's achievement score of 206 places him in the 90th percentile, which means he is performing better than 90% of his peers and well above the national average. You may have noticed that Johnny's score dropped from a 212 in the spring of last year. However, a slight dip over the summer is common and usually nothing to worry about. Now, take a look at the growth bar on the right. This shows how much growth Johnny has demonstrated over 1 year's time from fall of 2020 to fall of 2021 in comparison to his peers. Johnny's growth is in the 21st percentile, which means that he has made more progress than 21% of other students in his grade. This report provides very valuable information for teachers and parents because it indicates that while Johnny's achievement is high, his growth is in the low average range. MAP tests provide highly accurate results that can be used to identify skills and concepts individual students have learned, diagnose instructional needs, and monitor academic growth over time. You may be wondering how you can help your child prepare for the MAP test. First, talk to your child about his or her fall scores and discuss goals for winter and spring. Encourage a growth mindset where the focus is on improvement rather than perfection. Also, encourage your child to read as much as possible. Research shows the more you read, the better you will become as a reader. Help your child find books that appeal to his or her interests and read together often. When you meet with your child's teacher for a parent conference, you will receive a screener data report such as this one that indicates the benchmark target for each screener period and your child's actual scores. Teachers will be happy to answer any questions that you have about your child's screener data or explain any of these assessments in greater detail. At the conclusion of this video, we will also provide some links that you can go to for further information on how to interpret your child's test results for each screener.